Words matter. Language matters because language is personal. Language is your community. And so language is your identity. My name is Sonja Lanehart. I'm a professor in linguistics in the College of Social and Behavioral Sciences. I'm also an affiliated faculty with second language acquisition and teaching. We need to think about language broadly in terms of vocabulary that we use and how we're coming across. So I'm a big HGTV fan, and one of the ways that I've seen this happen is with the term master bedroom. You won't hear that term anymore on HGTV. They'll say owner suite or primary suite or something to that effect. And part of that has to do with the connotations that master has as sort of a master-slave or master-servant connection. We need to think about what we're saying because some of the words that we have are part of a context of which we as a nation or as a people no longer want to identify with in quite the same way. The reason I got into language, it's something that I've paid attention to very acutely for as long as I can remember.
Thank you so much for those wonderful speeches. I appreciate everybody having the...
When I started thinking about particular words and phrases and how important they were, someone made the statement that white people wrote dictionaries, right? White people named everything. And I was just like, taken aback. And I was like, I really hadn't thought about it that way. I'm on the Oxford Dictionary of African American English, the advisory board for that. I'm their consultant because of my work in African American language. And so I consult on words that are connected to African American language, but some other broader words as well. What are the history of these terms? What are the definitions? Where did they come from? How have they been used and how are they changing or how have they changed? And so that's part of the dictionary work that we're doing and I'm looking at. It's one of the reasons why I'm really interested in African American women's language, because African American women's language in particular is just it's such a vital language that is not only through the words that we speak or even sign, but eye movement, laughter, sounds, the whole discourse of it just is amazing. So in the past, I've taught a class, Black Lives Matter. One of the biggest things that we have to deal with are the misperceptions that people have about that organization, which is a nonviolent social justice organization that's interested in not just Black people, but protecting people, being more affirming and inclusive around issues of race, ethnicity, gender, religion, sexuality, identity, what have you. It's one of the first things we do is talk about what this actually is, as opposed to these perceptions that people have created about it. But we have to be able to understand the perspectives that people have when they're coming into conversation around these contested sorts of words and phrases. So how you define some things really can depend upon your particular ideology or relationship to those terms. Every language has value. It has something to offer. People have value. And people have something to offer, and language and people are connected. In my case, in terms of what I do, I want everybody to have access to thinking about language and thinking about it in these sorts of ways and why it matters, and thinking about it beyond just those words, right, but the history that it brings with them. We all have these sort of enclaves, right, that have meaning, that form our communities, but we have to recognize that other people have communities and that has value too. If we can learn to value that, then I think it goes a long way when we make those connections between people and language to having a much more open mind and understanding the value that we bring into a context, but also the value that others are bringing to that context as well.